artificial intelligence is not going to replace the human. We're going to create artificial intelligence that will unleash the power of human creativity and imagination.
The simplest way I would explain GT Sophy is an AI agent that learned to drive by itself at a very competitive level and is able to compete with the best drivers in the world.
We wanted to build a technology that enabled the AI agent to be able to understand, react, and then make at least the proper reactions in the real time in a dynamic and complex environment.
This is a collaboration between Sony AI, Polyphony Digital as a game development studio, and also Sony Interactive Entertainment.
There are many racing games where the physics is half done, but in Gran Turismo, that racing sensation that the players get, that's really at the core of the game. Kazunori-san, who's the CEO of PDI, he really lives racing, and he wants to capture the dynamics and the physics of that sport in the game.
この車文化、車という存在をもう丸ごとビデオゲームの中に再現したいなと思ったんですね。
The realism of Gran Turismo comes from the detail that we put into the game. All the details about the engine, the tires, the suspension, the tracks, the car model.
Because of the realism of the game, it is actually very difficult to program agents. We started around a year and a half ago by bringing on new people and a new team, essentially, that would help us solve that specific challenge that we're engaging in with GT Sophy.
When you start projects like this, you always underestimate how hard they're going to be.
Oh, the early days of Sophy were frustrating.
So we had these bi-weekly tests with the guys from Sony AI, and they would bring a new version. The first version that I got to see of Sophy, she was fast, actually quite fast, but she couldn't run on a straight line. I can beat her 100 times over 100 times.
The Sophy agent is trained through a technique called reinforcement learning. Sophy begins her life as an agent, tabula rasa, a blank slate. She gets inputs from the game about, hey, here's how fast you're going, here's which way the wheels are pointed, here's the curvature of the track. And she gets some feedback as to whether what she's doing is good or bad.
We spent a lot of time trying to figure out what things we needed to change in order to get that superhuman performance.
The next time they came to us, she was extremely fast. And the next time, she was even faster, and faster, and faster. Okay, I can't beat this. And then we had to bring the big guns.
So we had one big race day in July, and we learned a lot from this.
By the time we came to July 2nd, it was super competitive. So the GT Sophy agents are one agent, but different color combinations, competing against the 4 top human drivers across 3 different tracks and car combinations. One of the drivers that participated in the race with us, Takuma Miyazono, he is the top driver out of the 14 million GT sports drivers in the world.
The first race was on a track called Dragon Trail Seaside, and there's a really sharp corner towards the end that Sophy takes in a way that's just really amazing. It drifts across the curbs as it prepares to enter this 180-degree turn in a way that when you watch it, you're like, how does it stay in control of the car with that maneuver? In a time trial setting, Sophy is better than the best humans by anywhere from a half second to a second and a half.
It did really well in the time trial scenarios, but it didn't do so well in the competitive racing.
So the results were that GT Sophy came in first place in 2 out of 3 races. Unfortunately, though, the total points that Sophy scored meant actually that the human drivers took the team score away.
I think we all underestimated how hard it would be to get the sportsmanship side of it right. and learn to do that without being overly aggressive or overly timid in the face of competitors. That was a significant challenge to try to figure out what kinds of rewards to give it for these kind of in-game incidents.
So we already had a great result on the first race day, but you know, there we can always do better.
In order to make Sophy learn, she duplicate herself and for each of her play a different Gran Turismo in different situations. We really need a lot of computation power for training.
For the Sophy GT project, what we provided was essentially that infrastructure that's really needed to be able to train that super AI to get to that world-class ability to beat the best human players in the world.
You make an update to your model, you run it for like millions of simulations and see how they behave, and then you change a bit, and then you do this a lot of times.
In the end, it becomes an expert, a lot like humans become experts. Drives for like 10,000 hours, like a human has to practice the skill till they become proficient at it.
On race day 2, we wanted to win all out. The hope is that we also win the team championship, which we didn't in the first race day. Also that we win all 3 races in terms of like first place. The team put a lot of time into improving the agents, so we were nervous. The first 2 races go very well, and we are essentially dominating the race, taking first and second place, and that kind of gives some confidence going into the last race. And then there's this moment at the start of the 3rd race where there's a wipeout of one of our Sophy agents. But then what makes me very hopeful is that actually we're catching up and we're still in the game. And that agent actually goes to win the race. Sophy won all qualifying. It won first and second place in all 3 races. It recorded the best lap time in all 3 races and won the team score by double points versus the humans.
もちろんその勝ち負けもあるんですけれども、それ以上に重要なのはやっぱり、僕らが作っているこのグランツーリスモソフィーっていう、AI は最終的に人を楽しませるエンターテインすることを目的に作っているので、今日集まってくれた、選手たちが楽しかったね今日のレースはっていうふうに言ってもらえるようなね。
AI は多分もうプレイヤーの相棒になるんじゃないかなというふうに思っていて。その相棒になった時になんか人間の感情を揺さぶってくれるようなすごいいい関係であってほしいなというふうに思います。
本当にすごいアグレッシブで、これからもっと一緒にレースしていきたいなっていうふうに思いましたね。
AI から学ぶものっていうのが非常に多かったなという、その速く走るために僕たちが考えもしないような走らせ方、確かに操作を見てみるとすごい理にかなっていて。
Why are we building this GT Sophy agent? The hope is really that we deploy these agents in the future to other games and thereby help those players also to explore the games in a much more richer and more exciting way than they were able to do before.
So this is not just a technical breakthrough project. It really is about bringing AI into the hands of the game developers who are creators, who are going to build the new experiences for the players and expanding their community and the engagement to the game itself.
その AI が人間に勝ちたいから、開発しているわけではなくて、AI を研究することは最終的に人間のことを理解することにつながるわけですよね。人間とは何かっていうことを考えることにつながる。僕らの好奇心というのは主にそこでしたね。
This is the very first challenge that Sony AI made. Most important thing is what you learn from the Gran Challenge and then take that into the real world.